And salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends over at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good things. And guys, welcome to Friday. Congratulations, you made it through to the end of another week. May you have a fabulous weekend of relaxation and fun planned ahead of yourselves, preparing you for another week ahead of triumph and victory, of course. I'm joined, of course, sitting back there by Ray Ora. Running the show today, we got Jonathan Voico, Taylor Gonzalez is over there, and most importantly, you guys are here, and thank you so much for making this show part of your day. And we're going to break it into two parts. We're going to talk about some predetermined topics right up top. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. We'll announce at the end of the main topics when we're opening up the super chats for you guys to do that. Also, want to let you guys know, for those of you who are channel members around here, first of all, thank you so much for being a channel member and supporting our channel here. I want to let you guys know that there is going to be a channel members town hall that comes on a little bit later today. It's been a couple of weeks since we had the last one, so we're going to have one a little bit later today. I think it's going to be around 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 5 p.m. New York time. If you are one of our channel members, come on by and join us for that. All right, guys. With that all down, let's get things going here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. I remember when they announced that they were going to be doing this Detective Pikachu movie, the Pokemon movie. And I remember saying, okay, it might do all right. And the trailers were cute. I love, obviously, Ryan Reynolds is my good Canadian kid. Really excited about that. I think the trailers kind of look sort of adorable. But there were a lot of people who were absolutely convinced, like thought I was certifiably insane when I said I did not think there was no way that Detective Pikachu movie was going to make $1 billion. And people said, John, you don't understand. It is the number one entertainment IP in the world. And they weren't wrong. It actually was. I don't know if it still is. Maybe it is. But it absolutely at the time was like the number one recognizable entertainment IP in the world and all that kind of stuff. But just because it does that doesn't mean it's going to be huge. The movie came out and it was okay. I thought it was all right. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I didn't think it was great. And it did okay at the box office. Taylor, you can pull up for me the box office numbers that the first Detective Pikachu did. But I remember it did well. You know, it didn't blow the doors off the bank or anything, but it did well. And there's been a lot of discussion, talk about a new Detective Pikachu coming. And what did it make?
So worldwide, Detective Pikachu made $433 million.
$433 million. That's not bad. Mm-hmm. It's a far cry from $1 billion, but that ain't bad. It's better than Black Adam. So, I mean, I don't know why Black Adam has suddenly become the standard by which we measure everything. I don't know why I do that.
Not as bad.
For the record, I liked Black Adam, so whatever. But I mean, so they were talking about they were going to be doing another one, which was a little bit surprising, again, because the first Detective Pikachu didn't blow the doors off, but successful enough. Well, everything is moving forward, and we've got a director. According to Deadline, Jonathan Krysell has been tapped to direct Pokemon Detective Pikachu sequel at Legendary Pictures. Now, in case some of you are out there saying, who the living F is Jonathan Krysell? You're not alone, because Jonathan Krysell has never directed anything. He is primarily a producer and a writer and things like that. And if we go over to my screen here for a second, we see that he has written some things. He's written Moonbase 8, which I'm not familiar with. He wrote Baskets. He was a writer on Baskets, which I thought Baskets was actually pretty good. He was one of the co-creators of Portlandia.
Oh, I love Portlandia.
Portlandia is fantastic. It's really good. I never followed the Tim and Eric Awesome Show stuff, but he wrote some with that. He wrote on the Kroll Show. He was a writer on Saturday Night Live for at least a year. Some Funny or Die Presents. And that's it. Mm-hmm. And now, before anybody gets too worried, listen, directors got to start somewhere. And the only thing I get nervous about personally is when they try to tap a first-time director to direct a blockbuster tentpole kind of film. Like, I remember when they were talking about, oh, damn, who's the name of the guy again? He wrote a lot of comic book stuff. He directed X-Men, Dark Phoenix.
Kinberg?
Simon Kinberg. Thank you, Ray. Ray pulling out the information when you need it most. Simon Kimber, so that's why I was really concerned, because X-Men is a bigger movie property than Pokemon is. And so when they were announcing that they were going to have Simon Kinberg, who had never directed anything, that was a bit of a red flag. It's like, say, come on, get Simon to direct something smaller first. And but you know what, Detective, this is coming off a film that made $400-something million. This isn't a billion-dollar franchise. Maybe this ain't a bad movie to cut your teeth on, especially if he's got that humor and that stylings and all that kind of stuff. So maybe it's not bad. Look, would I have been a little bit more confident if we had heard that, I don't know, some little bit more experienced of a director was taking the helm on this thing? Sure. But again, this is one of those movies, maybe at the higher end, that I think it isn't a bad one for a first-time director to cut their teeth on and show what they can do. So I, for one, am looking forward to seeing this. Again, I didn't love the first one, but I did like it. And I'm going to be curious to see how this one shakes out. Did you any of you guys? Well, Taylor, I'm going to go out on a wild limb here and guess that you saw.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like the first Detective Pikachu?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm hoping they bring everybody back though, because I want Ryan Reynolds back. I want to have Justice Smith. I love Justice Smith, so I'm hoping he returns.
He's got Dungeons and Dragons coming out at the end of the month too.
I'm hoping he blows up because he deserves it. He's a great actor, and he was in the Jurassic World franchise. He's in this.
He wasn't so great in the Jurassic World franchise, but I don't blame him for that.
And then Catherine Newton, who was just in Quantumania, I really like her in Freaky, so I'm hoping she gets another good role with this movie. I'm excited to see Detective Pikachu come back.
A funny story about Simon Kinberg. We were in line for Force Friday at Toys R Us.
That's right.
Before Force Awakens. And he was like right in front of us. And that was a sign already that he wasn't fit for X-Men, because both him and I came out empty-handed. We didn't get anything. Everything was sold out. So if he was a better director, he would have gotten a handful of Star Wars stuff. But if me and him left the store with nothing in our hands because we couldn't get anything, then that should have told everybody not to get him for X-Men. That's my logic right there. It makes total sense. Everyone feels me. That's it.
And it wasn't by coincidence that we were in line with Simon Kinberg there, because Simon was with our buddy Kyle Newman, who's been on our show a couple of times. Of course, he's directed Fanboys, and he directed the latest One Up.
And the one guy that was in your documentary,
Adrian Scarrett, producer Adrian Scarrett was also there. Yeah, we had arranged to meet up with him there, and they knew Simon Kinberg, and they were in line with him. Yeah,
and Seth Green was there, but he was smart. He came out with a whole bunch of stuff. Like, he was actually in line earlier than us. So
which one was this?
This was the one in Burbank, the one next to.
Man, the stars came out.
Yeah, they were all there in line for what was the date? Star Wars Monday or?
It was Force Friday.
Force Friday. That was what it was called.
Right before Force Awakens came out. My favorite Star Wars movie, by the way.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Detective Pikachu, the sequel, is moving forward, and they've even got themselves a director. Granted, a director who's never directed anything before, but he's got some pretty solid writing titles on his stuff there. I think this is a perfectly fine movie for a first-time director to direct. Maybe you don't feel the same. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our next topic here, shall we? And that is this. I am a big fan of director Guy Ritchie. I like Guy Ritchie's movies very, very much. And I'm also a big fan of Jason Statham. Jason Statham was the first celebrity interview I had on my first website, the Movie Blog.
Know what I mean?
Yep. Jason was talking about his film Crank, which, of course, a couple of buddies of mine, Mark Neveldine, Brian Taylor, directed. And he did the first thing. And I remember one of the questions was something about, because it comes up in the movie, question about Viagra. And Jason Statham says, "No, don't need Viagra. Get a little rubber band." I'm like, what? That was, I know. I had no idea where he was going with the rubber band thing. Apparently that was a manly thing for a Jason Statham to do. If you understand the first Crank movie, you know what we're going with there. But love him. I love Aubrey Plaza. Absolutely love her. But I'm going to tell you what. So I went to go see their new movie, Operation Fortune. Jean Valjean. I honestly don't know how to say the last part of the show. But Operation Fortune is what I'm going to leave it at. Josh Hartnett's in it. Carrie Elwes, who Dread Pirate Roberts and Wesley from Princess Bride. And Hugh Grant. I'm going to tell you right now.
Return.
Hugh Grant steals this movie.
I had a feeling he would.
He is so good. And of course, he's worked with Guy Ritchie before. I mean, at least once he did Man from U.N.C.L.E. with Guy Ritchie, which I love that movie too. So Hugh Grant totally steals it. Jason Statham is exactly Jason Statham, the Jason Statham you'd expect, and that's exactly what I wanted. Aubrey Plaza is great. She's got the best one-liners. She has there's some really good humor in the movie, and she's got the best one-liners in it. So the basic idea is this. Here's the basic premise of Operation Fortune. Somebody has stolen something dangerous, but the government doesn't know who stole it, what exactly it was they stole, though they just know it's something dangerous, but they need to find out what it was exactly, and who's trying to buy it. So there's a whole bunch of mystery going on. So the government, instead of getting their official, agencies involved, they get one of the black off the books agencies that works for the government from time to time, run by Cary Elwes. And he's got his team led by Jason Statham. And they go off on this intrepid quest to find out who stole it, what was stolen, and who they're selling it to, and what they're going to use it, what nefarious purposes they're going to use it for. All right, here's the thing. It might be my least favorite Guy Ritchie movie. But that being said, I don't have a single Guy Ritchie movie that I straight up don't like. Well, wait, did he direct Swept Away?
I'll check right now.
Because if he did, wait a minute, did he direct Swept Away?
The 2002 movie, yeah, he directed that.
Okay, I changed my mind.
No, you love Swept Away.
That is the worst movie that Guy Ritchie directed. So let's take Swept Away off the books for a second. And other than that, this is my least favorite one. And I didn't like that one. But I still enjoyed this movie. Now, look, with the bad stuff first, and I did put up my out-of-theater reaction to it last night. The bad stuff first. It definitely feels disjointed. Like, as you're going through the narrative, it does feel a little bit clunky. And sometimes because Guy Ritchie movies move at such an insane breakneck pace that sometimes the flow of the narrative doesn't feel smooth. And this movie definitely you can feel it. It feels disjointed. Quite frankly, sometimes in this movie, it kind of felt like they were making it up as they went along a little bit. Also, go back to that last picture you just had. So there's this picture. Aubrey Plaza in this one scene is shooting at guys who are chasing them and everything. But I'm telling you, her gun was all over the place. It was so noticeable. At one point, let's go to my one shot. Let's say this delicious aviation gin. This is my gun. So she's pointing at the bad guys, right? Let's say the bad guys over there, right? Sometimes as she's shooting, her gun's literally like this. Pew, 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 like this, when the bad guys were clearly that way. So that was kind of one thing. Again, like I said, a bit disjointed, narrative didn't flow well. Sometimes it felt like they were kind of making it up as they were going along. The editing was not the best, all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, it's a rather kind of forgettable little action film. But sometimes on a Thursday night, that's a perfectly fine time at the movies. Ann and I had a good time. We laughed. The action is really good. Jason Statham's fight scenes are great. His fight scenes, they're always great. They continue to be great. There's good action. But again, Hugh Grant steals the movie. So, great movie? No. A good time? Yeah. I had fun. And you know what? The last time I checked the Rotten Tomatoes meter, it kind of reflects that. I think the last time I checked, it had a 57%, which means just a little more than half the critics liked it. A little less than half of them didn't. And that's right where I would expect it to be. That's totally where I would expect it to be after watching this. But for me, kind of a good time with the movie. If you get a chance, run out and check out Operation Fortune, Jean Valjean. All right. The question is for you guys. Did you have a chance to run out and see the new Jason Statham film? If so, what did you think about it? Are you like most people in the world that you didn't even know this movie existed or was even coming out this week? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to, man, it's a little bit of a tragedy that Rob's not here, because let's move on to some Star Trek news.
Modern Star Trek. At that.
Modern Star Trek news. Even if it's modern, Rob likes being here for the Star Trek stuff, but a little bit of modern Star Trek news. All right, so CBS, what was it called? Paramount Plus was called CBS All Access.
Okay.
So when CBS All Access was kind of out, their big series that they were relaunching, Star Trek, for the small screen, was coming in the form of Star Trek Discovery. And it was a little divisive. I mean, you get a lot of the classic Star Trek fans. Listen, I've been watching Star Trek since I was a child because my mom loved watching Star Trek. She would put on the old Star Trek, the original series reruns. So I grew up watching that stuff. And of course, obviously, then when Star Trek The Next Generation came out, I mean, I was a kid, but I loved watching it, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's fair to say there's a contingent of classic Star Wars fans, or Star Trek fans, I should say, that they weren't going to like anything that came out unless it was exactly like the old Star Trek. And the argument I would have with my friends, with my fellow Star Trek fans at the time, I remember when the J.J. Abrams, the first Star Trek movie was coming out. By the way, that first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie that came out, I shit all over that movie a year before it even came out. I was like, this is a dead franchise. This is probably, and what year did that come out? 2009? I want to say for that Star Trek. It was 2009.
I only know that because Rob.
So that
it all
in 2009, that Star Trek movie with Chris Pine comes out. But before it came out for a full year, I was saying this is the dumbest idea ever. This is a dead franchise because literally the fan base is dying off. Like literally the fans of the original series were literally dying and no new fans were being created.
They all had one bun in the grave.
They all had one bun in the grave, as Rob would say, right? But, and it's 100% true. There were no new fans being created. We saw the box office of all the Star Trek movies were dropping like stones. Each one was making less than the previous one. No new fans were being created. Guess what? The definition of dying is when cells are dying off and new ones aren't being created. It was a dead franchise, and I thought it was a stupid idea that they would do it. They came out with Star Trek, was the biggest box office result they ever had for a movie. And it was different. And I tried to tell my fellow Star Trek fans at the time, it's like, listen, this is a new era. This is like audiences are looking for things a little bit different. And you can't just go back and keep doing things the way you were doing them before, make it a little bit fresh. So whatever. But listen, undeniably, I remember Rob and I had this discussion because the one thing Rob concedes to when talking about that is that J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie did create for the first time in ages new fans of Star Trek. Something Star Trek hadn't done in a while, at least not since The Next Generation came out. Mm-hmm. So anyway, now we jump forward to Star Trek Discovery. And they do it again. They try to make Star Trek a little bit different again. They try taking different approaches, give it different DNA. And I'll tell you what, I quite liked it. I quite like Star Trek Discovery. I particularly like the first season. Like a lot of shows, it has some hits and some misses. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Star Trek Discovery is great. I think they've had some great moments. I think they've had some bad moments. I still don't like the whole time crystals thing for those of you who watch Star Trek Discovery. Still don't like all that. But what cannot be denied, some people try to pretend it's not true because they like to stick their head in the sand and ignore facts. Star Trek Discovery has been incredibly successful for Paramount. So much so that it launched a whole bunch of new series, including my favorite Star Trek series since The Next Generation, which is Strange New Worlds. I love that show. I think that show's great. But it's also reached 5 seasons, and now we know the 5th season is its final one. As according to The Hollywood Reporter, Star Trek Discovery is going to end with this upcoming season 5. Now, they said the following: the Paramount Plus sci-fi drama will embark on its final voyage with its upcoming 5th season. Sources say principal filming of the season is mostly complete, but with this move to end the show, there will be additional filming to help craft a conclusion for the series. The 5th and final series season will premiere in early 2024. So they were well into the process of making season 5 when the decision got handed down that, okay, this is going to be our farewell. So they decided to budget out more shooting time and whatever so they could actually wrap the series up. And then they bumped the release date of the series because season 5 was supposed to come out, I believe, later in 2023. And now they've bumped it to 2024 to give it that room and that breath so they can finish it off. And, whenever a show like this or a movie franchise starts to head towards its conclusion, you start wondering what's the legacy of this movie franchise or this series is going to be. What will the legacy of Star Trek Discovery be? I think what you can't deny, first and foremost, is that it will have a legacy of divisiveness. Like, again, I like the show overall, but there's no denying there are a lot of older Star Trek fans and whatever fans of the more classic stuff that it did not sit well with. It was very different from the Star Trek that they grew up with and liking. And it's fair to say that the number one thing about the legacy of Star Trek Discovery will be that it was divisive. It was. However, there's also a couple of things that aren't deniable either. It'll have a legacy of sparking an entire era of new Star Trek on television. Because, we've got some animated series, we got Picard, we got Strange New Worlds, all that kind of stuff. And none of them would have existed were it not for the success of Star Trek Discovery. Here's another interesting thing about that. This is going to rub some people the wrong way. At 5 seasons, Star Trek Discovery lasted 2 seasons more than the original Star Trek series did. Where's the gif of that cat from Puss in Boots that goes, ooh, yeah, I said it. It's true. It lasted 2 seasons longer than the original series did. Now, of course, this is a different era and altogether. But also in the streaming era where shows get canceled, good shows get canceled after 1, 2, 3 seasons, this thing's made it to 5. So, would they have liked to have gone longer? I'm sure they would have. Could this show have been a better show? I agree. Even as somebody who likes a show, I agree. It could have been a better show. Could have been great. It wasn't great. It was all right. It was good. Ups and downs. But it will have a legacy of being divisive and yet a legacy of success. And both are true. So hats off to the folks who brought us Star Trek Discovery. They've got a whole new franchise launch now. It's one of the other than, once this little thing called Yellowstone came around and Taylor Sheridan came around, but it was the most, other than that, it's the most successful thing Paramount Plus got going for it. So bully to them, good on them, and congratulations to the folks behind Star Trek Discovery for getting 5 seasons and the legacy that they will have. Questions for you guys. What do you think about this? Star Trek Discovery drawing to its conclusion at the end of season 5. What do you think its ultimate legacy is going to be? Whether you liked it or not, how do you think people will remember it? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to another issue here, and that one is this. Every once in a while, a movie gets announced that we go, wait, why? Why are they making that movie? Like if they were to come out and say they're doing a Joe Dirt 2. I don't know. Did they do a Joe Dirt 2? I don't know.
Think so.
I don't think so. I'm going to hope there wasn't. Okay.
Look.
So like if they were to come out and announce a Joe Dirt 2, we would probably be asking ourselves, why on earth are they doing a Joe Dirt 2? That's the kind of reaction I had when they announced that they were doing a Madam Web. Like why? Why on earth they're doing Madam Web? Now, while there were some questions about that, like why on earth would you do this? The reality was, they started announcing a pretty decent lineup for a cast. Dakota Johnson leading it. I love Dakota Johnson. I'm becoming a bigger and bigger fan of hers. Adam Scott, who is, of course, big hit with Succession right now. Not Succession, Severance. Big hit with Severance right now. I love him on Parks and Rec, all that kind of stuff. That's great. But also Euphoria's Sydney Sweeney. And there are some rumors and whispers going around, but now there's a fresh bunch of reports about who Sydney Sweeney is going to be playing. And according to these reports, Sydney Sweeney is going to be playing Spider-Woman in the upcoming Madam Web. But the Julia Carpenter version of Spider-Woman, who, if my memory's not failing me here, was the second iteration of Spider-Woman. So the folks over at CBR say the following. They say Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney's character in the upcoming Sony Spider-Man universe film Madam Web has reportedly been revealed. Sweeney is portraying the second incarnation of the Spider-Woman in Madam Web. Marvel Comics' second in continuity Spider-Woman was, of course, Julia Carpenter, who succeeded Jessica Drew. Julia's apparent involvement in Sony's Spider-Man Madam Web film is especially noteworthy, seeing how she is also the second and current Madam Web in the comics, having succeeded the late Cassandra Webb. So, there were some questions going around about, is Dakota Johnson playing the Julia Carpenter Madam Web, or is she playing the Cassandra Webb character? And I guess that this puts that to bed now, because if we have Sydney playing Julia Carpenter, then that must mean that Dakota Johnson's playing Cassandra as Madam Web. And I'll tell you when my interest in this movie started to get piqued. I was not very interested in this movie, like most people. until about a year ago. Ray, I don't know if you remember us doing this show where we talked about this. But some images, if you guys remember this, some set images got released of like Adam Scott and Dakota Johnson were like paramedics of some sort, and there was a car crash, but they were really old cars, like cars set in the like from the 80s or something like that, which made us think, is this going to be a period piece? And then rumors came out that some Gus's gas station movie review.fart website started run with, but I had also heard too, I still to this day cannot confirm whether they were true or not, but some whispers started to come out, some reports started to come out that the basic plot of Madam Web, and again, let me be clear, we don't know if this is true or not at all. This is just we had heard at the time, was a little bit of a Terminator kind of plot, where this movie was set back in the late 80s or early 90s, that the idea was that a villain who had grown tired of not being able to defeat Peter Parker's Spider-Man goes back in time to kill Mary Parker. And Mary Parker apparently was going to be played by Emma Roberts from, what's the best thing I can mention from? We're the Millers. She's done a bunch of other stuff. She's, of course, Eric Roberts's and Julia Roberts's niece. Actually, no, she's Eric Roberts's daughter.
And Julia Roberts'
Yeah, and Julia Roberts' niece. That's right. And she's wonderful. I like her a lot. So apparently, then the whispers were that she was going to be playing Mary Parker, the actual mother of Peter Parker, and Adam Scott was going to play Richard Parker, the father of Peter Parker. And this notion came out that the plot of Madam Web was going to be that this villain's going to try to kill them off. And so then this gaggle of Spider-Man allies get together, and a la Arnold Schwarzenegger, they travel back in time to stop this villain from killing Spider-Man. Now, again, no idea if that's the actual direction they're going in, but if it is, sign me up as being actually quite interested in this. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. But the whole notion about who Sweeney's playing, most probably the reports are saying she's going to be playing the second iteration of Spider-Woman. I like that. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Do you like the idea of these reports that maybe Sydney Sweeney is playing Spider-Woman, the second iteration of Spider-Woman, the Julia Carpenter version of Spider-Woman? What do you think about the overall plot rumors and stuff like that? I don't know. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move on to take our Mint Mobile hotline questions of the day. If you guys have a question for our show and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call our hotline anytime at 951-268-4259. And maybe you'll hear your voice on our show. And this one is asking some questions about, hey, who's going to be the face of the Avengers moving forward? Check it out.
Hey, John and Cruz. My name is Joey from Florida. Great to be on the show. Love you guys. A quick question. The Infinity Saga, they had Tony Stark as their main lead hero and Thanos as their main lead villain. For the Multiverse Saga, we seem to have Kang, obviously, as our villain for Dynasty and Secret Wars. Do you think that Doctor Strange or Spider-Man or someone else that you might think will be the main hero against our upcoming Kang in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. So, yeah, we were talking yesterday on the show about, you know, that the MCU right now doesn't have, there's not a face of the MCU anymore, right? For 3 phases, there were 2 faces of the MCU. Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark and Chris Evans's Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. They were the heart and soul of the MCU and the faces of the MCU. And, you know, even when you got into Infinity War and Endgame, in Infinity War, it was Tony Stark that had the big moment against Thanos, when the magic nanobots created a foam to heal up his stab wound. But it was him squaring off against Thanos. And then when you got into Endgame, it was Cap's turn. You know, there's that great image of that wide shot silhouette. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. That wide shot silhouette of Captain America standing there alone, getting his broken shield back on his arm, facing down Thanos and his hordes and legions of henchmen ready to come out. And he was going to face, I mean, so in Infinity War, Robert Downey Jr. In Endgame, Steve Rogers. But we haven't had, we talked about this yesterday, there hasn't really been a face of the MCU since. So they ask a really neat question. As we're now going into Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, Avengers 5 and 6, who are most likely to be those new faces? Because we haven't had any kind of hint or inclination of it yet. But as we build towards now, we're heading into that second leg stretch, heading towards Avengers 5 and 6. Who are those new faces going to be? If there is going to be anybody that is the de facto leader or leaders of the MCU and the faces of the MCU, who could it possibly be? All right. I want to jump into the classroom here for a second. We're going to talk about a couple of possibilities here. All right. Possibility number one, Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange is an interesting candidate to kind of be the face of the MCU. Number one, he's one of the most powerful characters in the MCU. So there's that. Number two, he's one of the most charismatic stars playing him in Benedict Cumberbatch. He's an infinitely likable character. Now, the things working against Doctor Strange are, number one, Benedict Cumberbatch has said repeatedly that Doctor Strange isn't even an Avenger, which is fine. You don't have to be the in-movie leader of the Avengers and necessarily to be the face of the MCU. But, again, so I think there's some good arguments that it could be him, but some arguments against him are, again, he's not even really that closely associated with the Avengers themselves. And, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, while wildly successful, making over $900 million, is a little bit divisive among some fans. So there's that. So Doctor Strange is one of those names. Another one is Thor. I mean, Thor is an OG. He's been around since the beginning, since the first Avengers, prior to the first Avengers movie. So, and it's played by one of the biggest stars in the world in Chris Hemsworth. The Thor films have been very successful, all that kind of stuff. And again, he is one of the, maybe a top 3 most powerful character in the MCU, the God of Thunder. So these are all reasons why maybe Thor could be it. The arguments against Thor being it, though, are even prior to Love and Thunder, even in Ragnarok, which I consider Ragnarok to be awesome. I love Thor Ragnarok. That movie to me is incredible. But even in that, Thor, we started to see Thor lean a little bit more into the silly, which I thought Thor Ragnarok was a nice balance of the heavy and serious with the more lighthearted and silly. It was a good balance. But then we get into Infinity War and we started getting Fat Thor. And then we got Thor Love and Thunder. And a lot of the audience, a bunch of people did like Thor Love and Thunder. I like it. I didn't love it. I have problems with it. And a lot of people straight up didn't like it. So, you know what? There's some good arguments made that Thor could be it, but some solid arguments that he might not be. All right, next up. We've got Captain Marvel. Now, the biggest argument to be made that Captain Marvel will ultimately maybe become either the face of the MCU or one of the faces of the MCU is that Kevin Feige talked up the Captain Marvel character a lot prior to the first movie coming out. They're talking about how Captain Marvel is like the most powerful character in the MCU. That's what Kevin Feige said. I think it's kind of shook out that maybe Scarlet Witch is the most powerful character in the MCU. But that being said, he had a lot of big things lauding Captain Marvel. The first movie comes out, makes over $1 billion at the box office. One of the true big heroes of Endgame. The battle was turning. That final battle in Endgame, it was turning. And then out of nowhere, here comes Captain Marvel taking out the fleet, the ship and everything single-handedly and all that kind of stuff. So there's some strong arguments to be made for that. Arguments against Captain Marvel, though, maybe becoming the new face, is that while the first film did make $1 billion, and while I'm sure the second film is going to be quite successful, she's not one of the more popular characters, right? I like the first Captain Marvel movie. I like this Carol Danvers character a lot, but she's not really one of the most popular characters out there. And just pure fan popularity, I think, has to be one of the things you take into consideration about whether they can become the face of the franchise or not. So some arguments for, some arguments against. All right, we got to talk about this guy, Spider-Man. Now, we had the debate the other day about whether Spider-Man could be the leader of the Avengers. That's idiotic, in my opinion. Straight up idiotic. He's a child. He is a child with notes who just 2 movies ago was like, I have access to people's Facebook page. I'm going to make this guy look dumb to the girl I like. Blah, blah. Like that literally was 2 movies ago. You think that child can be the leader of the Avengers? Fuck no. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Not to mention, you think that child, you got Rhodey, who's decades of military experience, a leader of men. Think Rhodey's gonna follow? Like, in what universe does Spider-Man, this child, become the leader of this guy with decades of military experience and leadership and all that kind of stuff, a leader of men? In what world does that become a reality? In what world does, say, even Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, again, military vet, like been in leadership, all that kind of trained military and tactics and all that kind of stuff. In what world does he go, yeah, I'll follow this kid who just graduated high school? That doesn't happen. But there is a difference between being the leader of the Avengers and being the face of the MCU. And we just talked about with Captain Marvel that you got to be popular. Like with the fan, if you're going to make a character one of the faces, the forefront face of the MCU, the popularity of that character has to come into play. And listen, Guy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there could be an argument that with Steve not there, with Tony not there, I mean, and Natasha's gone, I think there's an argument to be made that Tom Holland's Spider-Man right now may very well, amongst fans, be the most popular character in the MCU.
He's the most popular character in the comics. So
I mean, he's definitely in the comics.
Yeah.
And I think and not to mention his solo movie just made how much? 1.9 billion, 1.7 billion? I can't remember how much. A lot of big number of money at the movie. So I honestly think out of the 4 we've had so far, Spider-Man probably becomes the leading candidate of being like kind of the face, not the leader of the Avengers, but the face of the MCU heading forward. All right, well, what about this? Talking about guys who just had $1 billion film, what about somebody who's not even been in the MCU yet? What about Reed Richards? Let's bring up my screen there for a second. Like, we're going from Spider-Man, who's been around in the MCU, kid, all that kind of stuff. Thor is an OG. Doctor Strange been around for a bit. Captain Marvel is coming up with the Marvel. Reed Richards hasn't even appeared in the MCU yet. But he's going to be the smartest man in the universe, in the MCU, once he makes his appearance. Like right now, they say Shuri is the smartest person in the MCU, and she is right now. But once this guy shows up, this guy is the smartest guy in the MCU, once he shows up. And this is a big if it's John Krasinski playing him, which again, it's probably not. But you take a character like Reed Richards, and then you take a guy with infinite charm and likability that the fans love, and John Krasinski playing him. Even though this character has not appeared in one frame, well, that's not true. He was in Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness, but that was another Earth's version of him. Mm-hmm. But even though whatever iteration of this Reed Richards is going to be has not even appeared for a single frame in an MCU movie yet, I think there's a strong argument that a Reed Richards, particularly if it's played by John Krasinski, could end up being one of those faces in the MCU. All right, how about this? How about Wong? Kevin Feige calls it the Wong Cinematic Universe now. Wong is kind of taking the place, actually, of Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury as kind of the connective tissue behind the various characters. He's in all the multi-team things. He's popping up in Shang-Chi. He's popping up in She-Hulk. I mean, everywhere you turn, there's Wong. It's the Wong Cinematic. He is the Sorcerer Supreme. I love this character deeply. He was probably, if not then one of the top 2 or 3 most enjoyable things about She-Hulk, which was a show I didn't like all that much. But I love this character and I love this guy. So although Kevin Feige was saying things like the Wong Cinematic Universe, part of the reality is the perception of Wong is that he's a sidekick. I mean, am I wrong about that? Mm-hmm. Like, he's great. A lot of us love him. But the reality is, I think when most people think of Wong, they think of him as a sidekick to Doctor Strange, which does not devalue him as a character, but I think that almost immediately disqualifies him as being the face of the MCU. But long live Wong. I want to see him in the MCU for a long time. I just don't think he's going to be the face of it. All right, then there's this one. Let me pull out a wild card here. Hank Pym.
I mean, he's been resistant to it for a while, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but we see what he's capable of.
Well, I mean, one of the things, I've been saying this for a while. One of the things I love about Hank Pym is that in What If, in the animated series What If, they pretty much portrayed Hank Pym the way I think he should be portrayed. He is the most dangerous man in the world. Hank Pym in What If takes out all the Avengers. He takes out Hulk. He takes out everybody. And I love that. And then even in Ant-Man, throw up the spoiler warning. Here we go. Spoiler warning. I was looking for Spoiler Pig. You have Spoiler Pig.
I've been hanging out with,
absconded with him
Pig today.
You've got Spoiler Pig. So a little bit of a spoiler here for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So mute your computers. You can unmute them when the spoiler warning goes down. But you know, when the battle started going bad in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, who's the one who comes marching through the walls? Listen, comes marching through the walls looking like a G. Just walking in casually. Yeah, I'm me and my aunts, we're going to fuck everything up. Bye, Kang. Want y'all to remember, Kang got beat by ants. But still, being that as it is, he is one of the smartest men in the MCU universe. He is lethally dangerous. But again, do I really think he could be the face of the MCU moving forward? Nah, he's a secondary character in a secondary characters movie. I love Paul Rudd's Ant-Man, don't get me wrong, but Paul Rudd is a secondary character in the MCU. And unfortunately, Hank Pym is a secondary character in a secondary characters movie, so that pretty much wipes that out. All right, I want to throw one more in here, though. And I believe in this one, although you might say I'm biased. We can take the spoiler warnings down. Shang-Chi. John, you're just saying that because you love that movie so much. It's true. I love that movie, man. I think it's the best movie that has been in Phase 4, since Phase 4. Anything in Phase 4 afterwards, I think that's been the best movie, has been Shang-Chi. I love it. It's fantastic. But there's a couple of reasons why I think Shang-Chi could be a very legitimate option to be that face. Number one, Simu Liu is becoming increasingly popular. He's got a couple of big movies coming out, including Barbie and a few other things. Make no mistake, when he has the 10 rings and masters the 10 rings, he is going to be a lethally powerful character in the MCU. He's going to be a very powerful character in the MCU once he has those rings. He was born and raised in a League of Assassins, basically. He was raised to be a leader of men. All that kind of stuff. And remember this. Destin, who directed Shang-Chi, is the director of Avengers Kang Dynasty. Now, am I necessarily saying that Destin's going to automatically play favorites with his child, with Shang-Chi? Yeah, maybe. Very well could. I mean, and because of that, because of Destin's selection, it makes me think that it could be possible that Shang-Chi could play a very vital role, a very prominent role in Avengers Kang Dynasty. Now, the things working against it, Shang-Chi's been in one movie. So if you were yelling at your computer screen right now saying, hey, Campea, slow your roll a little bit. He's been in one film. You're not wrong. I think that is definitively the biggest argument against Shang-Chi taking that a big prominent role. Is that, listen, this guy's been in one film. And by the way, while we understand it was in kind of the pandemic era that it came out, it wasn't a hugely successful movie. It was a great movie, but it wasn't hugely successful. So let's not forget that. So again, let's take a look at my list again. So we got Doctor Strange, Thor, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Reed Richards, Wong, Hank Pym, Shang-Chi. So Jonathan, let me ask you this. If you had to pick, say, two of the names that I've got here that could potentially and legitimately be like the new faces of the MCU, which ones do you think would be the most likely?
Only because the last time we saw Doctor Strange, he was going off to solve what is it called? An incursion?
Yeah, an
right?
incursion.
And I think he's going to have the most experience dealing with the multiverse.
That's true.
And mending it. So that's
a good point.
I do think Doctor Strange is top of my list there. Let me just look at this again. Doctor Strange, You know, if they can develop Reed Richards enough, then sure. But we just said Shang-Chi has been in one, Reed has been in none. Really, I mean, we don't even know if that's the version of.
No, exactly.
That we're gonna get.
Well, it's not going to be the version because that was
Right.
what Earth 76Q15-Z. I can't remember 818 I can't remember.
It was
And that one's dead. That guy's dead.
So I'm going Doctor Strange, and then on a tactical and power level, I'd go Captain Marvel.
Yeah. I honestly, if I'm looking at this, I'm thinking Spider-Man and Captain Marvel. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking those two are the most.
I think Spider-Man's going to be our spiritual kind of.
That's what I mean, like not the leader of the Avengers, but kind of the face of the MCU.
So what are we? Are we talking about the leader of the Avengers, or who should be the face?
Like the face, like when you looked, like Steve and Tony were the leaders of the Avengers, but they were like the faces of the MCU to the audience and the fans.
It's not going to be the same this one. I think the leader of the Avengers should be just the guy who makes sense, or the person who makes sense.
Who do you think that is?
If they can't just shoe in somebody because they'll make the most money, just make it make sense. I would prefer that. The face of the
if you say One Punch Man, I'm leaving.
No. The face of the MCU, obviously, it's got to be like Tom Holland. It has to be him.
Yeah, you're thinking Spider-Man.
But if it's gonna be Sam Wilson, let it be Sam Wilson. We'll see how it rides out. I think it makes sense because he has that military background. He could anyone who could strategize against whatever they're up against should be the leader, and bring up the group morale or bring things together if the group is like separating. I think that's the character. And I don't know if I find that in anybody yet other than Sam Wilson.
What about Rhodey?
Rhodey's great.
Yeah.
I would prefer him because War Machine is just so dope.
I think what you
War
have,
Machine is just like the craziest suits. I love the War Machine suits over any Iron Man suit. So yeah, I would love him. But they haven't put him up in the front that much where
we got Iron Wars coming out, right?
Yeah. So it'd be like kind of like a blowback to be like, oh wow, he's speaking up a lot more. You know, but I could see him taking that role. Yeah, I would love to see Rhodey at the front line, but he might be the first one to die too.
Yeah,
against Kang, because he's just a suit.
Well, he might not make it out of Iron Wars, so we just don't know yet.
I mean, I think you've got a mixture of the government connection and tactical, but then you've got the big picture people, which I think even audiences look up to Doctor Strange as can you fix this? Can you explain this to us?
Well, even Spider-Man, when he had a problem he couldn't fix, first guy he went to was to Doctor Strange.
And if you feel audience reactions at the time, like when you're in the theater, people have a connection with Doctor Strange where they feel like, hey man, these two people are gone. We're looking to you. Like we look to Luke at the end of A Force Awakens. And then of course we got the lightsaber chuck, but I think they look to him.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Like right now in the MCU, it's a little bit identity-less. We don't really have anybody who's a face of the MCU right now. No discernible DNA or leadership, but we've got a ways to go until we get to Avengers 5 and 6. Who do you think Marvel is going to kind of set up as the face or faces of the MCU by the time we get there? Do you think it's any of the people that I've listed here? Maybe you think I'm leaving some people out. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Before we move on here, we're going to take a quick second here and thank one of the sponsors of our video today, the great folks over at Rocket Money. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to Rocket rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you check out and support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So go down to the description of this video. Right at the top, you'll find links and promo codes for the sponsors of today's show. And thank you again to Rocket Money. All right, guys, with that down, let's go back over to our Mint Mobile hotline, shall we? And this time we're talking about, well, we've heard this before, but maybe de-aged Harrison Ford in some Star Wars? Check it out.
Hi, John and crew. This is Justin, your Canadian neighbor in Minnesota. I saw an interview that Yahoo's Kevin Polloway did with Pedro Pascal. He was asked if there's a legacy Star Wars character he hopes will show up in Mando, and while Pedro wanted to answer, he couldn't, leading me to believe that his fan favorite is showing up this season. While Mace Windu and Ezra are interesting picks for the Jedi who saved Grogu during Order 66, I'm still wondering if Harrison Ford will show up based on rumors of an appearance last year during Boba Fett and his recent de-aging in Indiana Jones 5. What are your thoughts? Thank you, and bring on the filthy.
All right, Justin, thanks a lot for calling that in. And yeah, look, this is kind of interesting. Now, the thing about Mandalorian is, if I had to point out one of the things that bother me a little bit about The Mandalorian, is its over-reliance on pointless fan service. There's just, listen, don't get me wrong, I love Mandalorian. I love this show. I stayed up till midnight and watched it when it dropped on Disney Plus. I'll do it again next week. I love this show. But, you know, in all the things that I love, there are things that could be better. And I think one of the things that have always stood out to me about a negative about Mandalorian is just like, he says, look, everybody, remember him? Or remember that, everyone? Like they kind of fall back on that a lot. And it's kind of jarring to me sometimes. So the idea, but then they pull out a Luke at the end of season 2, and that worked. I mean, that narratively made sense. It had the right build up to it, had this huge payoff. That was an example of it being done really, really well. So I love it when it works well. So yeah, the idea, when Pedro Pascal says, I can't answer that question. When they ask him, are we going to have any big surprise legacy characters, whatever, he says, I can't answer that. I mean, look, does anybody doubt where they're going to get that? When they saw the pop that Luke got at the end, I mean, literally people, Ray, you saw these. You showed me half of these things. Yeah. Reactions of people around the world watching Luke showing up and crying. Like tears, people crying that Luke was showing up. It was an emotional, great moment. You know, they're instantly going, okay, who do we bring back next? Who pops up next that can get us the big pop? Now,
Big Papa.
You guys might remember that about a year or so ago, long before Book of Boba Fett came out, there was a story going around that Harrison Ford was seen on the set of where they were shooting Book of Boba Fett. And these reports, I think you got the link there, Jonathan.
Yeah.
That these reports saying that Harrison Ford actually shot for a couple of days. The reports came out that said Harrison Ford was there. Now, granted, these reports did not come from the Hollywood Reporter or anything like that, but these reports are going around that Harrison Ford was spotted on set or around the sound stages of where they were shooting Book of Boba Fett and said he did several days of shooting. Now, I remember we talked about this. The rumor was that he was now going to pop up in the Book of Boba Fett. We were going to see a de-aged version of Harrison Ford in the Book of Boba Fett. And I said at the time, I went back and looked at the old episode of our show. I said, I don't believe this. I mean, obviously, there could be some truth to it. I mean, they're always looking to get that cheap fan pop out of people. So it's something they could do, but I don't buy it. I don't think this is what they're doing. And sure enough, Book of Boba Fett came and went, no Harrison Ford. But could there be a case to be made that maybe that report was true, that Harrison Ford, while he was shooting Indiana Jones 5 and was doing a lot of de-aging for that, took time to step over for a couple of days to the volume and where they're shooting Book of Boba Fett to shoot some footage for not Book of Boba Fett, but maybe for a Mandalorian season 3. The first thing I will say about that is it is not the most ridiculous theory. We have seen, particularly in big franchises, where they have shot stuff with people way in advance just because they knew they were going to use it somewhere down the road. We've seen that. As a matter of fact, they did that with, I believe they said they did that with Stan Lee, did they not? I believe they shot a bunch of things with Stan Lee.
Kind of booked them.
Yeah, they shot a bunch of things, even if it wasn't for the immediate thing they had coming out or whatever. They recorded some stuff with them. They shot some stuff with them. But we've seen that happen in franchises before too, where they've done that. So is it conceivable that they decided that we're going to shoot some stuff with Harrison Ford while we've got him booked, like he's shooting Indiana Jones 5 for us right now with Lucasfilm. So while we've got his time booked and we're not shooting anything on set that day for Indiana Jones 5, is it conceivable they said, hey, Harrison, we're going to send you over to the sound stages over here and we're going to shoot some Han Solo stuff? Conceivable? Yes. And when you compound that with the fact that they got this big, huge pop with Luke being at the end of Mandalorian season 2, and they got a big excitement again with Luke popping up again in Book of Boba Fett, also known as Mandalorian season 2.5, it becomes even more conceivable that they would love to have Harrison Ford make a quick appearance. However, I still don't buy it. And there's two main reasons I don't buy it. Is it possible? Yes. Am I telling you it can't possibly happen? No. But there are two reasons why I don't buy it. Reason number one is I don't think Harrison Ford wants to play Han Solo anymore. I mean, the only way he would come back and do The Force Awakens is if they promised him they would kill him off. So they did. That being said, he still did pop up again as the ghost of Han Solo in another movie. But still, I personally think Harrison Ford is overplaying Han Solo. I don't think he wants to do it anymore. The second thing is this. You don't need a de-aged Harrison Ford when you've got Alden Ehrenreich. Alden Ehrenreich is, whether you like it or not, he is our younger version of Han Solo now. And listen, while the Han Solo movie bombed, there's no sugarcoating that. The Han Solo movie bombed. Like Rob and I think a lot of people still think that was a good movie. It was an unnecessary movie. It was a movie they never should have made, to be honest with you. But it was good. It was a good space action adventure film. I had a really good time with it. And you know what? I thought Alden Ehrenreich, who we just got to see again, that was him in Cocaine Bear, was it not?
Yes.
All right. Who we just got to see him again in Cocaine Bear. I think Alden Ehrenreich did a terrific job of playing Han Solo without doing a Harrison Ford impersonation. That was the one thing I was worried about him doing. I was worried about him trying to do a Harrison Ford. He took that character, honored the key aspects of the character, but still made it his own. And I thought he did a great job with that. So if you need a younger Han Solo, just bring Alden Ehrenreich back. Although I don't think they have any plans of doing a sequel to Solo, whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. The question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Do you think there could be a chance that Harrison Ford actually did last year shoot some footage for a Mandalorian season 3? It seems like a stretch for me, but I concede it would be at least possible, even if I don't think it's going to happen. But maybe you think it's a lock. Maybe you think it's 100%. Listen, they got that big success with Luke. They want to do it again with Han. And if they've got Han there, why not do it? I don't know, guys. Whatever you think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, oh, there it is. You see the symbol behind my head. It's not the real Batman symbol.
Uh-oh.
Kind of looks like you're Batman right now. There you go.
But it is nonetheless a Batman symbol.
BBC?
Going to talk a little bit about Batman Beyond.
Or we don't have to at all.
You know what? You're right. Let's move on to the next topic. No. So, Batman Beyond. This was a little animated show, a comic book character, little animated show, lasted a couple of seasons, then disappeared. But to say that it has a passionate fan base would be an understatement. It has they don't want to admit this, but it's true, a small,
oh my God,
but very passionate fan base. Not unlike, say, the passionate fan base of something like Firefly and Serenity, which I love Firefly and Serenity. I'm one of those, but it was a small fan base, but a very passionate one. Very passionate one. And for a long time, some people have been wanting to see a Batman Beyond return. And I have said for over a decade, it ain't going to happen. And everybody keeps telling me, yes, it will, John. Any minute now, we're going to get a Batman Beyond. And for 10 years, I've been told, any minute now, we're going to get a Batman Beyond. For 10 years, we haven't. Now, then something funny happened. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out. And not only was that movie fabulous and utterly fantastic, and one of the best, I'll say it, not just animated, one of the best comic book movies ever made. One of the other repercussions of that was even somebody like me had to go, if they could make Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with a Miles Morales, who the average film fan does not associate some dude named Miles Morales with Spider-Man. They think Peter Parker. If they can do that and do that so well and so successfully with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I think a Batman Beyond project could be more likely than ever before. Now, I still never thought it would be live action because to people, there is only one Batman. Bruce Wayne is Batman, period, end of sentence. That's it. Not Chuckles McGee. What is the guy's name?
Terry McGinnis.
Terry McGinnis.
Chuckles
Good
McGee.
old Chuckles McGee.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
I went to high school with him.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good old
Chuckles McGee.
Pee-hole Peter. Just ready to go.
I think I went to high school with him too.
I mean, ready to go. So, I mean, but that's the reality. The film goers, the average audience does not know whatever McGinty. What is it? Pee-hole Peter.
Pee-hole Peter.
P-hole Pete.
Pee-hole Pete. Good old
Just call me
people.
Receipt Ray, because I'm taking all these receipts right now.
Receipt
I'm
Ray.
taking all these receipts, baby.
Terry
Because when
McGinnis.
Batman Beyond comes out, and it's awesome, I'm going to take out my wallet, my fat wallet, overflowing wallet. I'll be like, John, what's this? What happened back then? What happened in 1942? Because it's going to be a long time till we see a Batman Beyond live action. I'll admit to that, but it's going to be awesome when we get it.
Well, Terry McGinnis, people in the live chat are reminding me, Terry McGinnis could have been closer to a movie than we maybe thought. Because according to reports, that back when Walter Hamada was still the president of DC Films, of course he is not any longer, according to reports right now, Walter Hamada did greenlight, not greenlit a movie, but he greenlit development of a Batman Beyond animated film, which is what I thought could be a better possibility after we saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And apparently Walter Hamada did give a green light and say, start putting that together. Let's see what this looks like. Start developing it. Let's see if it looks like something we could do. Now, obviously, this was years ago that he did that. And since then, Walter Hamada is obviously no longer with DC. Walter Hamada is no longer the president of DC Films. None of the leadership that was there. AT&T, who owned Warner Brothers at the time, is no longer there. There are new sheriffs in town, and they are, of course, under the names of James Gunn and Peter Safran, who are the leaders now of DC. Now, according to these reports that revealed that Walter Hamada did greenlight the development of an animated Batman Beyond, the report also says that officially such development was never scrapped. All right? That's according to these reports. The development was never actually scrapped. Then again, it never did make it out of the development stage. And under the new direction of Gunn and Safran, it looks like this animated feature is dead, but it's not officially dead, but it was never officially alive to begin with either, some to remember. So the question becomes, if Walter Hamada, the former president of DC Films, could have seen the potential, at least in trying to develop a Batman Beyond animated film, could James Gunn and Peter Safran, who obviously would have access to any development that did happen, could they at one point say, you know what? Let's take a swing at that. Let's see what happens. Let's go with it. Now, I'm going to go on record right now and say I don't think they will. I don't think James Gunn and Peter Safran are interested in developing and continue to develop anything that came with the previous regime. I think they're more focused on their own slate, their own creations at this point. But all that development that did go into a potential animated Batman Beyond film is still there. And if they ever thought, you know what, I would like to take a look at that, it would be there for them to pick up the pieces and keep going with it. I still don't think it'll happen, but I will give it a bigger than I have ever given it before 25% chance. I've never gone that high.
Easy, John.
Hey,
Easy.
that's 1 in 4.
Okay.
That's 1 in 4.
Okay.
That's not terribly low odds. That is the best odds I've ever thought. So, yeah, do I think within the next 5 years, we could hear maybe more movement on a Batman Beyond animated film? Yes. Live action? No. Maybe 25 years from now or whatever, but animated, maybe. I don't know, Ray. You seem to have some very, very strong opinions.
I just want to say, if you're at 25%, I'm at 26%, buddy. On my way to that hot toy. Woo, woo.
I honestly, coming off the Flash movie and seeing Keaton where he's at in his life,
yeah,
I could see him reaching out and making connection with a possible live action Batman Beyond. You know, handing the cowl over.
But do you let's be honest here.
Let's do one off. What if Batman Beyond was a one off? Even if it was just for HBO Max. It's gonna be awesome.
Well,
I have no
it could
doubt.
be Elseworlds.
Batman Beyond would be awesome. Just think of like Batman, but with all the stuff on him. You know, like all the
that
weapons.
stuff up on him.
It's like an War Machine, Iron Man, Batman.
But let me ask you this though. Do you put up $150 million just because Michael Keaton says, hey, I'd be interested in playing old man Batman?
Yes.
No, you don't. Because you know you're not going to make that money back.
Yeah, just
Because correct me if I'm wrong, somebody point me to, I can't remember what the last one was. What was the last movie Michael Keaton starred in that made $1 billion?
Oh, great.
Birdman.
When you go through all of them, like Birdman was awesome.
It was awesome, but it didn't make
What was the one called again? Where he was the newspaper guy with
Spotlight.
Spotlight.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Love
The Founder,
Spotlight.
baby.
The Founders.
Was so
Michael
awesome.
Keaton is a national treasure.
So let's separate that. Yeah, the money thing, but also name the past movies that were actually good that he was in.
Wow.
He's
We
been
just
in
listened
plenty
to a
of
bunch of them,
great
ton of them. But
he's been in good movies.
But just putting him in there, look, the protege was freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't care what anybody says. It was not as good as the first one. That RoboCop remake was not bad.
Oh, with Joel Kinnaman?
Yes.
I love that movie.
I know everyone wants to crap on it because they're so loyal to the original, and the original is much better. But I like that one, and Michael Keaton was really good in it. But my point is, with all those fantastic movies that Michael Keaton stars in, ain't none of them were huge box office hits, right? So you can't say that just by, like, everybody's excited that he's coming back as Batman in the Flash movie. Yes. But is that going to be the difference between the Flash movie making $300 million at the box office and $1 billion at the box office? No. I think that movie was going to be a big hit regardless. So I don't think you can just go, well, just drop Michael Keaton in it and everybody will come see it. I don't know if that's true.
But what if they front load it with an actor, let's say, that has never done this type of movie, Timothy Chalamet as Terry McGinnis,
Right.
with Michael Keaton? That just sounds fire to me. I mean, I don't know. I don't.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. You get David Zaslav tomorrow to announce a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton as Old Man Batman and Timothy Chalamet as P-Hole Pete, or whatever his name is.
You put respect on P-Hole Pete's name, buddy.
Okay,
I'm just saying,
David Zaslav's office, please. Yeah.
I'm
okay, I'll hold.
Timothy doesn't make a lot of.
I will be interested in that movie. You announce that tomorrow, I'm telling you right now, I will be interested in that movie. I still don't know that it makes $700 million at the box office, but I will personally be interested in that movie.
I'm making the most obnoxious arguments against you right now just because I want this damn movie. All right? I will make up
there are a lot of people that
I
do.
will make things up just to win this argument that we need this movie. I'll take an animated movie. That's fine. It started as animated. Give me the animated movie.
Let me ask you this
question. They canceled all the animated movies.
Animated, I think could work. I listen, I'm on record. I've been on record for a while. I think an animated movie of this could work. But let me ask you this question. If we went over to the AMC Burbank 16 and stood outside and conducted a survey for the afternoon of all just average film fans coming out of the theater, and we were to ask them, would you want to see a movie about Terry McGinnis? What percentage? Honestly, let me ask each one of the three of you guys
Looks
over
like
here.
that.
Honestly, what percentage of the people, average film goers coming out of that theater, would even know who Terry McGinnis is?
That's why you have trailers.
I'm going to say 30%.
Why does
You think as high as 30?
I do. I really
think
do.
three.
So does Spoiler Pig.
Why does it have to be in front of
3%.
Burbank AMC? Can't we
'Cause
just
that's
go
the
to
most
every
popular one.
basement in America?
No, I think you
Every
say. I
basement.
think you say Terry McGinnis. I think you say that name. No, but you say Batman Beyond. It's going to raise from there. And
What
I
about,
think you-
I'll go to 10% maybe.
I think you introduce him within a franchise that's already popular.
Now,
That's
hey,
how
let me
do
give
it.
you the argument against myself that you guys should have thrown at me.
People
This is
didn't
the
know
argument
Scott
you should have
Lang.
thrown back at me. Hey, John, if we did that survey outside of AMC Burbank 16, how many people a couple of years ago would have known the name Miles Morales? Right?
Well, I said Scott Lang.
Because
but
that
yeah.
would also would have been a small number. Because people think of Spider-Man, they think of Peter Parker. So, I mean, there's that.
But you know what? The favorite part about one of my favorite parts about the Batman is when he started pulling out that cool tech, and I was just like, "That's Batman Beyond tech right there." That he had in that he put in a cat.
Oh, you're talking about the eye.
And I just that little tease of the Batman Beyond sort of thing. I was like, man, that would be so cool if we did a full-on Tron Batman sort of thing. I don't know.
All right. Guys, the question is for you. Apparently, Walter Hamada, the former president of DC Films, had put into development a Batman Beyond animated film, according to reports. It looks like it's probably just sitting on a shelf dead somewhere right now, but one never knows. Do you think that in the next couple of years, maybe James Gunn and Peter Safran could come across and say, you know what? Maybe we should take a swing at the bat with an animated film like this. I mean, hey, you wouldn't even have to put tons of money into it. It could be a straight to HBO thing. I don't know. What do you think the possibilities are of something like that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our final main topic here today. We're going to stick in the realm of Batman, shall we? But we're going to talk about the real Batman.
Oh boy.
Oh, wow. I'm out of here.
We're going to be saying, I can't get my monitor stand to work, whatever. We're going to talk about the real Batman here. And that story is this. According to, oh my God, and you put that Batman logo on.
Well, that's the
perfect.
only thing that.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like it.
that show. It was great.
So we all know after James Gunn and Peter Safran made their big announcements that one of the movies that they have coming is a Batman movie, Batman the Bold, or the Brave and the Bold. And it is going to have a Damian Wayne Robin in it. Now, what we also, Ray's very happy about that.
Love you, Damien.
On top of that, we also found out early, before the big announcements came, that James Gunn did announce to the world, let the world know that him and Peter Safran had sat down with Ben Affleck, who is no longer going to be our Batman. He's my favorite Batman, just for the record. But he was no longer going to be Batman, but he is one of the world's finest directors.
World's finest.
And they want to world's finest. You caught it. I'm glad you did. He is one of the world's finest. And that James and Peter want to work with him directing film, and that Ben wants to direct a DC film. James Gunn said, the only issue now is we're just going to have to figure out what the right project is. Now, James Gunn implied that it was not going to be The Brave and the Bold. It was going to be another film. But there are reports that have come out, particularly with Above the Line, I think was the name of the outlet. There are reports coming out that actually maybe that movie is indeed Brave and the Bold. Above the Line was the name of the outlet, is reporting that it very well could be The Brave and the Bold. Now, I don't believe that report personally, because again, James Gunn had already kind of said it won't be that one. He's implied it wouldn't be that one. On top of that, I think if Ben Affleck was going to do a Batman movie, he would want it to be the one on the script that he wrote. He'd want it to be that Terminator-based script with Deathstroke. I think that's the one he would want to do, not one with a Damian Wayne. So those are the reasons why I don't think that's going to happen. And if you want to take, a little Twitter spat going into it about what happened there, and we can go over to my screen here on this. So, somebody brought up, didn't James Gunn say in a previous interview that Affleck is not directing A Brave and the Bold? I get that Gunn is something of a professional liar, but still. To which James Gunn, who, listen, I get it. People love it when the celebrities are more active on Twitter. Honestly, I love James Gunn. I'm a super big fan that he's running DC, all that kind of stuff. But if I were to have a phone conversation with Gunn, I would tell him, listen, dude, the one thing you got to do is you got to pull back a little. You don't have to engage with people online, on Twitter. Pull back a bit. But James Gunn decided to respond to that person, say, for years, it has been my commitment to the fans that I will never lie to them. And I never have. I'd be very curious about what it is you think I've lied about. So basically, he's kind of confirming here that, yeah, I did say that Ben was not going to be directing Bold and the Brave. And I have never lied to the fans. Now, this created something more, a little bit more of a back and forth because, and this is a huge problem with online fandom, who of course will twist and turn things to mean whatever they want it to mean. And the person said to them, well, when James Gunn said to him, hey, what do you think I've ever lied about? Well, the person responded that you said you didn't want to run DC and not wanting to make a Superman film. For starters, James, you lied about that. And of course, James Gunn followed up and he said this. He said, neither of those were lies. I was offered a Superman movie, but I wanted to do Suicide Squad instead. A few years later, I saw how to tackle Superman and I decided to take it on. I didn't want to be the sole CEO of DC, but when they came and offered it to me and Peter, I said yes because I could focus on the creative side. But, you know, it's again, this is why I would tell James not to bother trying to deal with these online folks who will just twist and spin to make any kind of argument they want. You lied when you said you didn't want to make Superman. No, I didn't want to make Superman at the time. I wanted to make Suicide Squad. You said you didn't want to run DC, and I didn't. But when they said that I could do it with somebody else so I could focus on creative, that's different. And I get it. Love that he said that.
You know what's also true? That guy still lives in his mom's basement.
Yeah, probably.
And you know what? No,
I was just thinking about how he's still in that basement.
James Gunn replied in that voice too. He was like, I didn't lie. I never lied. I never lied
That's
about
exactly
Superman.
What he sounds like.
That's how James always speaks. Didn't you know that? That's how he attracted his wife to
That's
him.
why I stay off social media, baby.
I mean, listen, I'll tell you what, and I think James needs to stay a little bit more awake because why, James, listen to me because I know you're watching. James, why are you wasting your time with troglodytes like this?
Batman Beyond.
Yeah, come on, James.
Batman Beyond.
Jonathan dropping subliminal message. Why are you wasting your time that you should be spending
Batman Beyond.
on
With
Batman
Keyhole
Beyond,
Peter.
apparently?
Oh, wow, you said it.
Responding
That's crazy.
to people like this. Don't waste your time, dude. Your other stuff. Anyway, let's get back to the main thing.
okay.
Let's get back to the main point,
Okay.
which is the whole Batman Bold and the Brave.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen. Everybody knows Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman. I wanted, and I desperately wanted to see him direct a Batman movie. But I don't think this is the one. Right? What do you...
Don't do it.
Always remember, Taylor, you put up the Batman Beyond thing.
I forgot I'm in
James Gunn
control.
behind John Campea. Look at that. Okay, go back. Go back. Taylor.
We're talking about, go back to
Yeah, go
So
back.
Ben, I've always wanted to see Ben direct a Batman movie, but I want to see him direct his Batman movie.
Yeah.
You know? And his Batman movie is not Brave and the Bold.
Well, it's the same idea of James Gunn wanting to create his DCU.
Yes.
Right? So
Yep, absolutely. So listen, I am going to be super excited whenever they announce whatever DC movie that Ben Affleck is going to direct. Because whatever movie he decides to direct, it's going to be awesome. Because he is, and I know it's weird, and it's been a beat since he's done one, but he's one of the finest directors in the world right now. And when you look back at his filmography, oh, this thing tipped over. It was a domino effect.
Oh, okay.
When you look at his filmography and like even his We Own the Night, yeah, that was his poorest movie. Yes, it was his poorest movie, but that was still a good movie. And then he only directed a film that won Best Picture at the Academy Awards with Argo, Gone Baby Gone, The Town. He just directs awesome movies. I will be super excited to see whatever it is he decides to direct.
The same thing with Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck. I really was hurt that they didn't get their own movies. Like I wanted to see them a little more. And
Yeah, me
Ben
too.
Affleck, even on the directing chair, would be a nice like thing for me to, I don't know, just like a one thing that he can do for the Batman fans or him playing Batman for the fans of that.
Yeah, now we're not going to see him play Batman.
Oh yeah, I know
mean,
that,
we're
but
the
just
Flash.
having his hands
The
on
Flash.
anything.
Yeah,
But
we're
it's
going to
like-
see him in the Flash. But
Yeah.
I'm just telling you that while I would love to see him direct a Batman movie, that's clearly not going to happen. I will still be equally as excited. Well, maybe not equally as excited, but still quite excited to see him direct any DCU film.
Yeah, because Marvel snatched him up.
Yeah, Marvel
Direct
stuff,
a movie.
For sure
He's
they
been
will.
in Marvel before.
Anyway, guys. Oh, don't forget, he's got that Air movie coming about the Air
Looks
Jordans,
great. Looks
which
good.
looks fantastic. I can't wait to see that.
Ben killing it.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you believe the reports that they're actually looking at Ben Affleck to direct Brave and the Bold? I really don't buy it at all, but hey, anything's within the realm of possibility. James Gunn can do whatever he wants, and maybe it's something that Ben really wants to do, but I think it's going to be something else. What do you guys think about that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, we are now going to open up the super chats. If you guys have a thought, theory, opinion, or question you'd like us to address here in the next part of our show, go ahead and start firing in that now. But before we get to those, we want to take just a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, Ryan Reynolds' own Mint Mobile. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know I made the switch over to Mint Mobile a while ago. The process couldn't have been easier, and I can't believe that I am spending less than a third of what I was spending on one of the other major carriers before. By going online only and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's get to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what do we got up in here?
Okay, first up, we've got Dr. Stinky who writes, last night I was watching Creed. This girl next to me takes shoes off, starts rubbing her feet, talks the entire film, and pulls out her phone. That does sound stinky, Dr. Stinky.
All right.
That's
While a little uncomfortable, I don't mind if somebody wants to take their shoes off. Whatever, you're going to be comfortable. That's fine. As long as you don't suffer from really horrible smelling feet, that's fine.
Well,
Whatever.
or that they don't cross into your personal space.
Yeah. Then you know what? Whatever you do, you be comfortable. The pulling out your phone. We were at a screening the other night, and some dude pulled out his phone to start texting, and the security guy came walking right up to him, was like, "Put that away," and then just stood there and watched him the whole time. Theaters got to become more aggressive in dealing with people like that. Theaters have to become more aggressive because unless your name starts with Mr. President or the letters DR period, you can be without your phone for 100 minutes. All right? You can be without your phone for 100 minutes. Put the goddamn thing away. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Next up, we've got TJ Perry. We all know Kang in the comics was Reed Richards' distant descendant. In Quantumania, what did Janet call him before she said, "Who is Kang?" Well, we were asked that yesterday.
Yeah,
too,
we were asked the exact same questions. Like, if she only found out his name was Kang later, what did she call him before that? I'm like, oh,
Mr. K.
I don't know.
Hey, Mr. K.
Hey, Mr. K. But here's the more tragic answer. We don't care. The movie didn't make it so we would even care. Like, that's a really interesting question. It's just that we probably don't care what his name was. You know why? Because the movie was poorly written.
You know, Colonel Sanders in the live chat put out a good one. Maybe it was Daddy.
yeah, that's what I said. I just said Daddy.
What the heck? I'm missing out on this. What's going on?
Come on,
I'm
I know what the
babysitting
people are
Spoiler Pig.
I don't know that it mattered. Even if it was well written, it doesn't matter. That's not, oh, his name was Hank. Wow, that means so much.
It's Kevin.
All right, what's next?
All right. Amin writes, the actress who cameoed as Dinah is Canadian and really hasn't been in anything. Do you think they'll keep her for season 2 or recast with someone more experienced?
I don't know why they would put her in, because they did so purposefully. Why would you put her in if it's not the actress you're going to use? So look, who knows? No idea. It's perfectly fine if they decide to recast it. But why not? Why not use her? If you did, listen, a lot of people didn't know, what's her name? Iman Vellani, who played Ms. Marvel. Nobody knew who she was, but they did the screen tests. They did the work with her. They put her through vigorous rounds and rounds and rounds of auditions and said, yeah, she's the right person to be Ms. Marvel. And they went and they got her. And if they've done the same thing with this girl, keep her. If not, don't. But I think they'll probably end up keeping her. We'll find out, though, next year. All right, what's next?
Whenever someone brings up that, I reference them to the Lawrence of Arabia poster where it says introducing Peter O'Toole.
Is that what it said on the poster?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, I got to get that poster.
Josh Becker writes, the soundtrack and score of Creed 3 was amazing.
The soundtrack was really good.
Oh yeah.
I remember actually when Ray, Ann, and I got back into the car afterwards, like Ann was driving, and the first thing we did was play this song that was in the movie. Play this song. And it's a banger soundtrack. It's a really, really banger soundtrack. And you know what? I kept waiting for the classic Rocky kind of music to play. And while there were a few moments where you could hear an homage to the classic Rocky music play a little bit, like as an homage, a little bit here and there, they kind of avoided it too. But yeah, the soundtrack was great. The score was great. It's just a great movie. Guys, if you haven't seen Creed 3 yet, go see Creed 3. It's a hell of a lot of fun. All right, what's next?
All right, Suthius writes, Kamala could be one of the few new faces of phases 5 and 6. She's very charming. While it may not be canon, she is in a new live-action storyline of Disney's newest ship as an Avenger in training by Sam.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, the cruise line.
Oh,
the little movie that they play on that cruise. She's supposedly a part of it.
That's not canon at all. I mean, listen. I don't think I could see her. While Ms. Marvel is one of the best things that Disney has produced in the last couple of years, Ms. Marvel is utterly fantastic. A lot better than some of the other crap they've been putting out. Anyway, while I think it's fantastic, the reality is, though, you know, the character's not popular enough to become one of the faces. I would love it. I just don't see them promoting her. But you know what? Let's see what the reaction to her is after she appears in the Marvels movie. Then maybe that'll heighten her profile a little bit. But I don't see it happen, even though I'm a huge fan. Huge fan. All right, what's next?
All right, Bobby Jackson is next, who writes, John, you mentioned the Avengers not following a child, but none of them know he's a kid. Even his villains think he's an adult. I don't think he'll lead them, but not because he's viewed as a child.
Okay. I've had somebody say that to me before, but they don't know who he's. You think Rhodey is going to follow anybody and he doesn't know who they are?
Right.
You think Sam Wilson is going to follow somebody?
They're top military.
You think you're going to follow, like, okay, you're some dude in mask. I don't know you. I know nothing about you. You're our leader. Never happen. Never, ever, ever happen. So yeah, there's no way they're going to follow somebody, particularly as an Avenger, if they don't even know who that person is. Never happened in a million years. Not in the MCU. Like maybe in a fairy tale cartoon or in a comic book page or something like that. That's different. But in a live action environment, there is no way in freaking hell they would follow some dude in a mask. We know you're a really good fighter. You can be our leader, but not actually know anything about them or who they are. Or what. Never happened. For all they know, it could be Baron Zemo under the mask, right?
Oh, he pulls off the mask and then it's just a purple mask?
And it's just a purple mask under it? I mean, yeah, no way they would do it. All right, what's next?
All right, King Tannic writes, I added a bigger workload that I can't drop, plus my job. I get less sleep than I need. You had little sleep for a while due to the show some years ago.
Yeah.
How do you get up with energy so your work won't suffer? Athletic Greens. No.
Hey, listen, Athletic Greens sure as hell helped. I'm still on Athletic Greens every single day. It's the only way I get all the right amount of nutrients that I need because I don't eat particularly well. You just do it. I mean, that's this thing. Listen, there's some nights I'm working up until about 2:00 in the morning and I still got to set my alarm for 6. You just do it because it's got to be done. I mean, that's just, look, and I think that's my dad raising me. You do it because it has to be done. Like, I wake up in the morning, I may not want to get out of bed at 6, but guess what? If I don't get out of bed at 6 that particular day, and even though I'm dragging my ass and I'm super tired and I can barely keep my eyes open, if I don't do it, then shit doesn't get done. And shit not getting done is not an option. You do it because you got to do it. And eventually your body starts to, look, you've got to evaluate. And fortunately for me, I have some really good people in my life, primarily my wife, who knows me better than anybody and knows how to help me manage myself and forcing me to take time when I need to take time. But yeah, you do it because, I talk to too many people today. It's like, how do I what's the word? Oh yeah. How do I get motivated to do the things I want to do? If you're not motivated enough just by the fact that it's something that needs to be done, then you're not a grown up. I know, I'm sorry. I know that sounds harsh. I know that's not what people want to hear. Everybody wants to be coddled. Like, oh, you're so precious. Everything, the world revolves around you. But guess what? If the fact that there's something that needs to get done, if that's not motivation for you enough, you're not a grown up. So I would say it's not easy though, man. I relate with you 100% because I do have those days and I do have that time, but it's about work ethic. It's about understanding. And here's the key. This is what Ann helped me understand more than anything else, is recognizing when it's not something that has to get done. Sometimes it's things I want to get done. And Ann, who, again, everybody's got to have somebody like an Ann in their life who says to me, is that something that has to get done and has to get done right now? No, then sit your ass down and relax. Like, so fortunately I have that person in my life. So learn how to discern the things that need to get done with the things that you just like to get done, and learn how to prioritize. And that's, fortunately, I got somebody in my life that helps me do that a lot. Hopefully you do too. All right, what's next?
Bobby Jackson writes, I think we'll have 2 leaders. Sam will lead the ground and Captain Marvel lead the air team.
I don't think the Avengers are going to be broken into a ground team and an air team. Not to mention Sam is an air guy. But I think Sam, Anthony Mackie just recently in a recent interview kind of implied that Sam Wilson is not going to be the leader of the Avengers. Again, it's a hard ask because while he now carries the nickname Captain America, he's not Captain America. I mean, he's not Steve Rogers, right? And in the Avengers, he was always a lower ranking guy in the Avengers. Go back and watch the other Avengers movies. Sam is considered a lower ranking guy within their ranks. And he has no superpowers. Within the Avengers, that's a little bit different than a Batman, I think. So I don't know. I certainly don't think the Avengers will be broken into Team Air and Team Ground, but I just don't think Sam is going to be one of those guys. We'll see though. Let's see how the Captain America New World Order movie works out. All right, what's next?
All right, Jay has a 2-parter here. I think it's totally fine that Versions King were defeated in Ant-Man and Loki. In the comics, Kane is constantly defeated. Kang's big threat is that up here he keeps coming back. The feeling of how do we defeat him for good is something the MCU hasn't had in a bad guy yet. I kind of thought they were going to do more of that with Ultron, because in Ultron in the comics, it's like he can come from the future too. So,
and one of the big threats in Ultron was not only do we have to defeat this guy, but we have to kill the system that's allowing himself just to transfer himself to all this kind of stuff. I mean, no, I get that absolutely, but when you're a live action movie fan and you're an average moviegoer, that's a big ask. Like, okay, get built up for this big Kang villain and don't worry about it when they die at the end because they're just going to come back tomorrow, but still feel the threat. And it's a big ask for the audience. And I don't know that they've done that well yet. They didn't do it well with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Even though I love Jonathan Majors in the role and I loved his performance as Kang, they've got some ground to cover, I think. They've got some ground to cover. All right, because just because one concept works well in the comics, like you so accurately pointed out, that doesn't necessarily automatically translate to the screen. We've seen examples of that a lot, right? So, I don't know. We'll have to see. Listen, but still, in Kevin Feige we trust, and we'll see what he's got in store. All right, what's next?
JCSC asks, what about CinemaCon makes it your favorite con?
It just does far more than any other con. And it's that's the thing about CinemaCon isn't really a con, right? like most traditional cons, like a D23 or a Comic-Con or anything like that. You know what? We're going to be doing an explainer video. You know, I've been doing those editorials lately. We got one coming up explaining exactly what is CinemaCon. And we're going to be talking about that as to why. But again, it's the presentations. The studios come and they give 1.5 to 2.5 hour presentations about all their big movies they got coming up this year, showing us 10 to 15 minute clips of movies that aren't even going to be out for like 8 or 9 months, showing us surprise screenings like we're going to be watching The Flash 2 months in advance. It's just an incredible, incredible experience if you're a film fan. So I think that, but again, keep your guys' eyes open for the video we're going to be doing next week. That'll air next week called What is CinemaCon? And that'll give you a better idea of that. Anyway, great question. Thanks for asking.
I'm kind of disappointed because I was watching the news this morning. And this weekend, there's something called Alien Con.
Oh, Alien Con.
Yeah.
What is
and
this?
How did I not know about this? I want to go so bad, but it's sold out. It's just like,
what is it, like UFO aliens? Or
Yeah,
Sigourney
UFO
Weaver
aliens, you know, planets and stuff
Where's
like
it at?
that.
It's going to be at the Pasadena Convention Center, which I live
I
one
wanna
block
go.
from. It looks really
Why
fun.
don't you go? What's stopping you?
Well, they sell tickets and they were limited. So,
Oh, okay. I got it. Well, just show up and say, I'm Ray Aura.
No,
Say
they
you're an
sell
The
them-
alien.
world knows who you are now.
So you're an
come from
ancient
the moon.
alien.
I am an ancient alien. All right.
Or
What's next?
Best, aka Mr. No Days Off writes, over under 55%. We get a Council of Reeds versus Council of Kangs fight scene in a future Avengers film. Thanks and bring on the filthy.
0. Yeah, no, they're not going to do that. Oh, no, look, I won't say 0. 5%. Very, very, very small, tiny percent chance they actually bring that into the big screen. So I don't know. Do any of you guys disagree? Like,
6%.
What? 6%. Always got to take.
That's sick.
Always got to take
win,
the
baby.
1% over. All right, what's next?
All right. Jeff writes, Ant-Man, questions or Q's reported budget, 200 million, not counting marketing. It stands to lose 50 to 100 million. I think Feige rearranges something soon, per Igor.
Yeah, he's just trying to say that Quantum Mania cost
Well, the budget
the
was
budget.
200 million. I mean, do we know that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, that would be roughly. Let me look this up. Ant-Man.
I think that basically what he's asking is if Ant-Man loses money, will Feige rearrange things like Panic Mode, like Warner Brothers?
My opinion is there's already a rearrangement with the fact that Iger's back,
Yeah,
and the middlemen are cut. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. Look, with Big Papa Iger coming back, and they've decided, okay, scrap the mandate that Chapek gave you that you got to crank out this much content. Let's bring that down a bit. Let's space out what we're doing. But see, here's the thing about Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is not like Warner Brothers used to be, this super reactionary guy. It's like, oh my gosh, one thing went wrong. Let's change everything.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean you can't change anything. Again, I really believe, and as much as I look forward to seeing what Jeff Loveness does in the future, I want to see Jeff Loveness have success and succeed in his career. Totally do. But I think it is becoming apparent that he should not be writing Avengers Kang Dynasty. He shouldn't be writing it. If Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which was his really first big project he got to write, if that's any indication, he really should not be writing that. I mean, give him other projects to write. Let him grow and develop his skill. And again, I wish nothing but good things for the gentleman. Nothing but fabulous success and a great future ahead. But right now, I don't think he's the guy to write that movie. So I believe a minor change, like saying, you know what? We're just going to change out our screenwriter. We still have our direction. We still know where we're trying to take everything. But I think we need to swap out our screenwriter for that. I don't think he will change it, but I hope he's considering it because I think it would be best for Jeff's career, and I think it would be best for the MCU right now. But you know what? Again, I trust Kevin Feige. Whatever he decides to do will be fine. All right, what's next?
Okay. Nick Hernandez writes, just want to say it's my 23rd birthday, and thanks to everyone in the crew for the amazing news and fun from this channel.
Oh, thanks so much, Nick, and happy birthday, man. May you have a great and glorious day and a great and glorious year ahead. We are honored that you decided to spend part of your birthday with us, man. Thanks so much for that. All right, what's next?
CJ Rebirth writes, loved Creed 3, but maybe miss seeing Rocky.
Again, there are moments, you know what? Okay, there are moments in the film where Rocky's absence is very, very noticeable. But Ray made a comment about Creed 3 that I also really agreed with, which was Creed 1 and Creed 2 were still both Rocky movies. This is a Creed movie.
Yeah.
This movie marks the transition. It did not need Sylvester Stallone. It did not need the Rocky character. I still felt his absence really obviously in a few scenes, but this is now his story, and it's a transition that needed to happen.
And from the movie poster and the trailer, you could see he has a family, he has a kid. I mean, you could tell it's not where Rocky used to take place. So, I mean, he's living his own life is what I'm saying. Rocky is not his wife. He's not going to follow him everywhere.
Now,
you know what I mean?
Where did he end up going at the end of Creed 2?
Didn't he go back to his son's house?
Yeah, was it Vancouver? Was it Vancouver?
Oh, yeah, he did go back to his son.
He goes back to so maybe he just up and moved there permanently.
Yeah, so there could have been some time that passed. I mean, who's to say?
Rocky's story has been told.
Yeah.
And now they're
Exactly
telling
that.
Creed's story.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked. All right, what's next?
Juan Espinoza asks, Ben Affleck directed Green Lantern series or JSL? Not sure what JSL is.
It wouldn't matter. Ben Affleck is
Justice
one of the world's
Society?
great directors. Whatever he does would be great. I don't see him doing listen, if you look at his movies like Argo, The Town, and stuff like that, I see Ben Affleck wanting to do a more grounded, gritty kind of movie. So I think that would take like a Green Lantern out of it, unless he wanted to approach it very, very differently. So I think my guess, pure guess, just a guess, my guess would be it would probably be a character that he could bring that more grounded grittiness to it, like The Town and like the Batman movie he wanted to do. So I don't see it being a Green Lantern, but you never know. All right, what's next?
All right, and Min asks, where is your excitement level for Foundation Season 2?
Very high. I thought the first season was fantastic. I really loved it. Really excited to see where the new season goes. All right, what's next?
Vess, a.k.a. Mr. No Days Off, writes, these movies turned 30 years old this year. The Sandlot, Jurassic Park, Groundhog Day, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, So I Married an Axe Murder, Robin Hood Men in Tights, Mrs. Doubtfire, and The Fugitive. Thanks, and bring on the field.
Oh my God.
You know what?
That's crazy.
The one that bring up that list again too. What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which is of course the one that really put Leonardo DiCaprio on that. I think a young Leonardo DiCaprio, I think got an Academy Award nomination for that movie, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was his first one. But man, So I Married an Axe Murderer. That movie is so great. Any of you guys? Have you guys seen?
Yeah, that goes into my thing. Bring up that list again, Jonathan,
right.
please.
Can you
Guess how many of these movies I've watched?
Oh my God.
I'm gonna
one.
say you've seen Jurassic Park.
You have to have seen
I'll
it.
say
Wait a minute,
two.
I almost feel like he hasn't.
Have you seen
Jurassic
two or none?
3.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess you saw Jurassic Park.
Right.
I'm gonna guess you saw Groundhog Day.
Nope.
No,
No,
and I was
Sandlot.
gonna guess Mrs.
Sandlot.
Doubtfire.
Sandlot. No, Miss Doubtfire.
No, not Mrs. Doubtfire.
Sandlot, and then the other one, Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Okay,
There
that
you go.
tracks.
I'll tell you what. Sarah Married an Axe Murder is one of my all-time favorite comedies.
Who stars that? in
Shrek.
Michael
Shrek's in it.
Myers.
Mike Myers, yeah.
There are so many great lines in that movie, but like one of the best is he's walking. They just had this great date, and they're walking, they're talking, and martial arts comes up. He goes, "Yeah, in Scotland we have our own martial art. It's called fuck you." Where it's basically consists, he says, it's basically consists of headbutting and kicking somebody when they're on the ground. It's like one of the best lines
That might
ever.
have been his first breakout movie after SNL, right? Or during
No,
SNL?
Wayne's World was.
Wayne's World was
Wayne's
first.
That Wayne's World came
Yeah,
first?
Wayne's World came first, and then So I Married. But God, I love So I Married an Axe Murder. That movie's so great. All right, what's next?
Josh Becker writes, hopefully these March movies can be as good as Creed.
I'll tell you what. Not only case Creed right now projected. We'll see if it works out. Projected to be the biggest in the franchise opening. John Wick is projecting to be the biggest opening in the John Wick franchise opening. We've got Shazam not projecting well. A lot of problems around that, but still, I'm excited about Shazam. I am super stoked. They played the Dungeons and Dragons trailer again at the movie when we went to go see Operation Fortune the other night. I'm very excited about that movie. What else is coming out in March?
65.
65. Listen, that movie is not going to do well at the box office.
It will do well for me because I'm going to see that.
But
I'm
I think it's going to
excited
be
from
fun.
this movie.
Yes, I think it's going to be fun. I don't think they haven't done a good job marketing it. I
Yeah,
don't think a
not
lot of people
really.
are going to see it, but I think that movie's going to be a lot of fun. Like for me, I had a good time at Operation Fortune yesterday. I really love Creed. March for me is already off to a great start.
It's like a mini summer in March.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
Well,
great.
it's just starting earlier and earlier.
All right, what's next?
All right, Guzman writes, a double feature Friday for me. First Demon Slayer, then Creed 3. Curious to see those anime-inspired shots Michael B. Jordan was doing for.
Yeah, I didn't recognize anything that didn't look like it was just influenced by regular boxing movies. But Ray, who's a bigger anime guy than me, he definitely
You
recognized
watch Dragon Ball enough, there's little things in there where you're like, Yeah, but you know what?
I'm glad it wasn't blatant, though.
Yeah, even if you don't notice it, the slow-mos in that movie, the point of impact is crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
Yep.
You know, talk about like nuances of Rocky and how it was always shot. Mostly it was shot cinematically. The problem I had, and I didn't mind Rocky Balboa, the sixth one. I didn't like how it was shot almost like ESPN style.
I
I really like Rocky Balboa.
I liked it too.
I like the story, but the shots were shot,
Yeah.
too realistic. It didn't look cinematic.
All right.
All right,
what's
Wicked
next?
Man writes, UFC is stacked in March.
Yeah, it is. There's a couple of big ones.
John Jones.
Obviously, you got the big John Jones ones. Man, I would love to see him get his face smashed by Gunn, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think. But listen, the thing about Jones is, when's the last time he was in the ring?
Yeah.
And was the last time. It wasn't Dominic. What was Dominic's last name?
Cruz?
I don't think it was
Dominic Reyes.
Dominic Reyes. Because I'll tell you what, straight up, John Jones lost that fight. I still to this day, I've watched that fight four or five times, and it's not like it was one-sided. It wasn't. John Jones was extremely competitive in that fight, very, very dangerous in that fight. But he lost that fight. Dominic Reyes won that fight. He's been in there against who's the big blonde Nordic guy?
Oh, yeah.
Gustafsson?
Gustafsson.
Yeah, Gustafsson. That Gustafsson took John Jones within an inch of his life in that fight. Like, here's the thing. Like, when I tell people, John Jones is not even in the conversation of the greatest of all time. I mean, that's Habib Nurmagomedov. Because you look at Habib's career, never in his career was he ever even in trouble.
Yeah.
No one ever came remotely close to even having the eagle in danger.
Man, that guy
never
wrestles.
once. John Bones Jones is a top 10 all-time great, but he did get beat against Reyes, even though the judges gave him the fight. But he got beat. He came very close to losing a couple of times. But I think he beats Gagne Saturday night. I think he beats Gagne Saturday night.
This would have been a better contest if I didn't see Gagne's last fight against what I thought was going to be a great fight. It showed what he's like under the bright lights. That one fight where I actually thought he would beat, was it the Black Beast or was it Ngannou or somebody?
Well, he fought Ngannou. He lost against Ngannou.
Yeah,
that was his last fight.
Or whatever fight that was where he was up against a big name. It seemed like he crawled into a shell.
His last fight was against that great New Zealander fighter, the guy who drinks the beer out of the shoes.
Right.
That dude, why am I freezing his name?
It was that fight then.
Oh, he beat the hell out of him.
Oh, Gagne beat him?
Oh, yeah, he beat the hell out of him. Yeah.
Okay.
But against Ngannou, he looked kind of mortal. But
he was like running around and just kept running. But who wouldn't run from a big punch like that?
Well, he wasn't able to take him down. That was the problem. He really wanted to be able to take him down. And Ngannou showed in that fight a huge leap forward in his grappling ability, like both defensively and he showed the biggest jump I think ever in his skill set in that fight. And unfortunately, that was the last fight we ever got to see.
Yeah, and he's not there anymore.
He's not in the UFC anymore. Sucks. Anyway, all right, what's next?
All right, Matt Sanders with a $20 super chat. Thank you. I liked Rick and Morty, but sometimes they destroy their universe. When that happens, Morty goes to a new universe, a whole new family. Am I supposed to care about those characters? That's what I'm afraid of with the multiverse.
Well, I mean, just because somebody does something in a cartoon show does not mean they're going to take those same tropes into a thing. But we're already feeling that in the multiverse, right? We've already felt that. Gary's saying, no problem, new version of them there. But I can't comment on the Rick and Mortyisms of it because I only watched season 1. Now, I was very late to the party for Rick and Morty. It was already on season, I think, 3 by the time I got around to watching it. But it looks exactly like the kind of humor I love. But I didn't like Rick and Morty. It didn't make me laugh. I didn't think it was all that good.
And I think he's trying to say like what's the worst part about it, like a multiverse story.
Yeah.
Like you get attached to certain characters, and
Yeah,
then
well,
they
if the
go to a
universe gets
different
destroyed,
universe.
who cares?
Oh,
Just
new
move on to a
characters you
new
have to
universe.
like get
Yeah.
to know again. So
Well, we haven't really incurred that yet.
yeah, we
Not
haven't
entire
done that yet,
universes.
but
yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right, Nexus Fuel writes, "Hey Taylor, what do you think the commentary will be in Scream 6? For me, it looks like they're going to tackle the topic of glorification of true crime."
Oh, yeah, Nexus, that's exactly what I think it's going to be, especially with stuff like Dahmer, the Evan Peters show on Netflix.
Right.
And all the drama it caused. I think it's going to be, especially because you can see this in the trailer, there are multiple people in the subway dressed as Ghostface. And I think in real life, we're seeing the same thing where people are glorifying serial killers. In their world, it's Ghostface. Actually, this Sunday morning on the 5th, I'm going to be going to Santa Monica because they're having a Scream experience. It's a walkthrough exhibit with all the props, all the costumes. I'm going to be filming it, trying to get as many clues as I can to try and piece together what's going on. I'm so excited for this. It's going to be a fun time. We're 1 week away from today, Scream 6.
Taylor, I had to tell you something. I was watching the news this morning. Did you know Paramount tried to do a viral thing again?
Oh, yeah.
And the cops were called. They had a
For what,
guy in
Scream?
a Scream costume. Just standing around in corners. Someone took a pic.
The same thing they're trying to do with Megan?
Yeah,
You know those, like-
yeah, and smile.
Yeah, but with Scream, it's a little more dangerous.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So people
smiling-
started calling the cops, and then the cops said, "We hope next time the studio tells us, so we don't
Yeah.
have to."
Yeah, that's
answer
They got to be
stupid.
careful with that.
It's those traffic cams. I forgot exactly what they're called, but you know the ones where you can look online
Oh,
and you
yeah,
can watch
CCTV.
popular like tourist places.
Yeah.
They're showing up there. Ghostface's, I think it was Arizona, California. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
you got to be. I mean, like when they start putting the girls dressed in the smile thing behind
Yeah.
the camera at baseball game, that's cool. But you got to be a little bit smart. You can't have people in ghost
Yeah, yeah,
face
yeah.
things walking
Those
around like that.
people can actually get hurt.
Yeah.
Well, and the difference is at a game, they check you for weapons. On the street,
Yeah. You don't know what somebody's got
Yeah.
going on. All right, let's keep going. We're almost out of time here, so let's keep rolling.
Guzman writes, makes Simu the face of the MCU. Dude is really charismatic and super good looking. Also, is a good Canadian kid.
Again, one of the biggest arguments for it is the fact that his director in Shang-Chi is now the director of Kang Dynasty. So, but again, his movie, he's only been in one movie. And that movie, while it is the best movie they've made in the last little while, it only was able to do so much financially. So who knows? We'll see where they go with it. All right, what's next?
Well, Dildar says, I'm bored. How's your day going? Yeah, I'm not going to read it.
I missed that. What?
He just
anyway,
wants
all
me to
right.
read that.
Okay, let's keep going then.
Life Mastery Mindset writes, was James Gunn at DC and being known for picking oddball characters, do you not think Michael Keaton can team up with him to do a Batman Beyond? Could be an Elseworlds movie.
By the way, he super chatted in like $20. Thank you so much for supporting us in that level. I said that exact same thing earlier. I said, knowing James Gunn, that is something he could look at.
And that's the only way to go.
Batman Beyond is not an oddball character. I mean, he's not Polka Dot Man.
Right.
He's not King Shark. It's not a peacemaker. He's not an oddball character. He's a very straightforward character that I think a lot of studios would look at and develop. Look, of course it's something that he could do. Absolutely. I think it'll be animation. I don't think they're going to step out of the gate and try to swing for the fences, because while his Suicide Squad movie is one of the best DC movies ever made, it was also financially like Titanic. Now, there's a few asterisks to put on that. The previous one, a lot of people didn't like the previous Suicide Squad, so it had that baggage coming over with it. The fact that the previous ownership of Warner Brothers did the idiotic move of putting it on HBO at the same time that they put it in theaters. There was the pandemic was still going. Look, there's a lot of different asterisks around that, but yeah, I do think it is possible, especially and exclusively animation. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
All right. When I say chef, Ray says,
Pleasures.
Rigo. No questions, just showing support.
Oh, thank you, Chef Rigo. Good to see you, man. Thank
And
you for
then
that.
support from Fangblaze71.
All right, guys, and that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent those super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show here. Thank you guys so very much for your support. Just a reminder to you guys who are channel members, at 2 p.m. today, so that's about an hour and a half from now, that's 5 p.m. New York time, we're going to be doing a channel members town hall meeting, just because we haven't had one in a couple of weeks. So come on by, we'll discuss some stuff. I'll take your questions for those of you who are channel members. So I hope to see you guys there. All right, guys, and that'll wrap us up for the weekend. Make sure you come back on Monday for the next installment of the John Campea Show. Looking forward to seeing you then. So for all the guys in the room, Ray Ora, Jonathan Voico, Taylor holding Spoiler Pig hostage
boy.
over there,
Yeah.
and myself. I'm John Campea. Thanks for being here, guys. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.